What's good, family? This is Vinny C right here in the Jets Lounge, ready to preview the Kansas City Chiefs and the New York Jets Sunday Night Football matchup. So many storylines to get into this Sunday's ball game, where you have, is it Zach Wilson's last stand as the starting quarterback of the New York Jets? The Jets are going to be wearing their legacy uniforms for probably the last time this year. Sunday Night Football game, their first time in God knows how many years that the Jets are going to be on it. Taylor Swift's going to be in the press box, jumping and jiving every single time Travis Kelce scores a touchdown. And I fully expect there to be a handful of diehard Kansas City Chiefs fans flooding our stadium. And guess what? Right now our schedules, we're only 1-2. I mean, how did we get here? The matchup, it does not favor the Jets at all in any capacity, offensively, defensively, special teams, coaching. This is going to be an absolute barn burner. Now, I know for those of you that listen to WFAN, Evan Roberts was on there recently saying that the Jets, they still have their puncher's chance of winning the game. Yeah, any team can win on any given Sunday. I understand that, but you have to understand you have the absolute worst ranked offense in the National Football League right now, and you're going to be on national television up against the defending world champions and arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks already, we could say, of our time in Patrick Mahomes. A kid who's just a master on the field in extending plays. I mean, he kind of reminds me of like a young Ben Roethlisberger. Just when you think you've got him done, he twists, he turns, does a sidearm move, and He keeps the chains moving like a quarterback I've never seen before. He's absolutely unbelievable. He's got a ton of weapons at his disposal. Obviously, you got Travis Kelce at tight end. You got Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Pacheco in the backfield. Their offensive line is absolutely stout with guys like Joe Thuney, who I wanted on the Jets. Guys like Creed Humphrey at center, who I also wanted the Jets to draft. It's going to be a lot. Now, if any defense could stand up to him, I think our defense could definitely stand up to him. So with that said, I think Sauce and DJ Reed can keep the receivers at bay at least for a good quarter or two. Try to keep the game manageable. But again, your defense is only as good as your offense is going to take you, because if they're not able to get off the field, Zach Wilson is trotting out there and doing 3 and out, it's going to be a very, very, very long night. So with that said, I will say this to Coach Saleh and Coach Ulbrich and whoever else is running the show. If it's Woody running the show from up in the press box, I don't know. But realistically, I'm going to give Zach two different options if I'm the coaching staff before you make the decision to just pull the plug and say we've seen enough. If one of two things happen prior to halftime, this is what I would say you have to pull the plug on Zach. Number one, if he turns the ball over 3 times, which I wouldn't put it past him. I really wouldn't. Or number 2, if the Jets go down by 3 possessions or more before the half. Both of which are very, very possible when you're lining up against an opponent of this magnitude, especially when it's on national television. Never mind the embarrassment for the kid. The last thing you need is the entire, just the whole squad to be embarrassed on national television. It's not fair to the rest of the guys, like I mentioned in last week's video. So with that said, if they go down by 3 scores or more prior to halftime, or if he's responsible for turning the ball over more than three times or more prior to halftime, I want to see Tim Boyle close out the game. I don't care if he just has to hand the ball off for the rest of the game. I never want to see Zach Wilson out, not just for the rest of the game, possibly the rest of the season. And if Coach Saleh has any balls whatsoever, because I'm expecting this massacre to happen, he should deactivate him for the rest of the season and try to salvage himself for his career's sake. I mean, honestly, if it was me, knowing that he has no future here whatsoever at the end of the season, there's no way in hell they're picking up his 5th. I would send a message to the locker room that you truly care about the team and that you give a damn that people do their job, and just cut the kid as soon as the game is over. Cut him first thing in the morning. Listen, kid, we took you high. It didn't work out. Clean out your locker. We'll put you on waivers so that way you have an opportunity to start somewhere else. there's no sense of even keeping him in the locker room because it's toxic at this point. You could say whatever you want with these ridiculous t-shirts that they've come out with, I got your back, or when they did Mike F. and White. It's ridiculous. I don't know any other team that does this nonsense. I really don't. So, and just listen, the team doesn't like him, and the fans don't like him. I'm telling you, the front office does not believe him. I'd send him out now and then worry about Rodgers coming back next year, possibly bringing in a capable veteran to back him up this time. Joe Douglas, I'm looking at you. And then maybe investing a mid-round or a day 3 draft pick in a project quarterback you could truly redshirt to learn from one of the greatest. That's how I would do it. But let's give Zach the benefit of the doubt, because he's going to be the starting quarterback on Sunday night, again, possibly for the very last time. So the only way that they can keep this close is, again, it's going to come on to the defense. Sauce and Reed have to keep the receivers at bay. You got to be disruptive at the line with Quinnen Williams, JFM, Carl Lawson. Please, try to show up. Bryce Huff, be disruptive. Jermaine Johnson, back up your big talk because he took some shots at Patrick Mahomes this week. So, I mean, you want to talk big against one of the greatest of all time. Now you got to prove it. So, again, the defense, if they have a puncher's chance, is going to be the ones that keep us in this game. So, you got to turn the ball over, and you got to capitalize on those turnovers. And what I mean by that is not 3 points. You have to fight for touchdowns. Again, when I think of this mind-boggling conservative offense where they're fighting for field goals, it reminds me when we had Tony Sparano as our offensive coordinator. May he rest in peace. But seriously, it's a National Football League. It's a pass-happy league. You need to score points, and you got to put sustained drives together to score those points, especially when you're playing an opponent like Kansas City. You have to score between 25 to 35 points a game, or you don't stand a chance. Again, and not to dismiss Kansas City's defense, they still have the 7th-ranked defense in the National Football League. Chris Jones is now in the lineup. George Karlaftis, another guy I wanted the Jets to draft, he's in the lineup. So again, and don't forget too, Andy Reid's on the sideline, who I think is an offensive genius, sure ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest coaches I've seen of all time. The fact that we didn't reach out to him when Philly canned him that's just mind-numbing as well to think. But again, very rarely do coaches like that hit the market. All the credit in the world, too, to Coach Spags with that defense. Not a good head coach. Defensively, he's a great, great mind. So what do I truly expect to happen here is, the Jets are 9.5-point underdogs at home, mind you. If they can just make it a game until halftime, go to the half, make some adjustments, then come out firing in the third quarter, we'll see what happens. Do I expect that to happen? I don't. Let's be honest. Let's not play with each other here. If Tim Boyle or if Simeon was ready to play this game, I'd give them a little bit better of a chance to keep it, in rhythm and in tune, keep the game close. I don't see it. And I think, honestly, Kansas City might end this game sooner than we expected and put us out of our misery. Don't be surprised if they trot their JV team out there. I'm not kidding on that. But I'm going to be kind. If I'm a betting man, which I am, I would lay the 9.5 points comfortably. The over-under is 41.5. I'd go under. I think it's going to be a final score. I would take Kansas City with a final margin of 27-13. Again, it's a pass-happy league, and just you got to score points to win. And with the offense being led by Zach Wilson, knowing he doesn't see the field, he stares down receivers, he sacks himself when he's under pressure, I just don't see them putting up points on the board with him. I don't. It's just sad to say. In a season that we had so much hope, so much anticipation, when thinking we had one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Yeah, and honestly, he can't make any excuses after this game. Because last week, I looked over the numbers from PFF. The line last week, as horrible as they played the first couple of the weeks, they actually gave him a ton of time in the pocket. Garrett Wilson was getting open on a lot of those plays. Even Allen Lazard was open on a couple of plays, and he just didn't see them. And you got to be able to see the entire field if you're going to play quarterback in the National Football League. So, It's like, what are you supposed to root for, honestly? Like, is it impossible for the Jets to win? No. Is the likelihood there? Probably not. But the one thing I did hear on one of the Twitter spaces that I was in is like, couldn't you just see the Jets somehow, some way stealing this one from Kansas City, pumping us all up? Then they're going to say Zach needs to stay under center. We go down to Denver to play a shitty friggin' Bronco team that everybody will pick us to win, and then we're going to lay an egg. Because that's how it would happen in typical Jets fashion. Because, again, then we would have Philly right before the bye. That's going to be a loss. Let's call it the way it is. But it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If the Jets win, they're going to keep Zach Wilson under center. That's the reality. If they lose and really cripple their standing, going down to 1-3, another AFC loss, then you turn to Simeon. I almost feel like it's like 99 again when they waited too long to turn to Ray Lucas when Parcells was just so stubborn and wouldn't turn away from Rick Meyer. And then the season, it was too late. So, I mean, again, it just, I wish we had something better to look forward to. I will say this, though. Even though we're all expecting a loss, I'm going to tell you this. Pay attention to the presser. Because if Saleh goes up there and once again he tells us that Zach did all he could, he played a clean game, he gave us the best chance to win, we had such an excellent week of practice, I'm going to lose my shit completely. If I hear another goddamn word about how excellent practice was, I'm going to lose my shit. I mean, if they gave out awards for how great practice was, we would be Super Bowl champions for the last 4 years. Again, this coach is going into a contract year, and I don't know how you justify giving him an extension, bringing him back, if they finish last in the East, a third consecutive year under his watch, a fourth consecutive year under this general manager who didn't have us prepared with a veteran backup in case of an emergency happen like this. Think about it. Enjoy the game. Thanks again for tuning into the Jets Launch. Have a good night, guys.